Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, yeah, hi. Yeah, Deepika ma'am is on mute, I think so.
No,
Hello.
I have
Yeah,
already started my.
okay, can go ahead.
Okay, so we'll start the session. I think we already have more than 100 participants, and we are very, very fortunate that we have today with us someone who has worked so closely with so many wonderful things in her career, uh, Ms. Harsha Girish Ramaya, a visionary in education and parenting with over 30 years of experience in the field of education. With over 30 years of experience, Ms. Harsha is a renowned expert who has made a lasting impact on countless lives. As a visionary educationist and parenting specialist, Harsha has dedicated her career to empowering individuals, families, and communities through her expertise. Her key strengths are education expertise with a deep understanding of educational systems and pedagogies. Harsha has developed innovative approaches to learning that cater to diverse needs and abilities. As a parenting expert, Harsha provides valuable insights and practical advice to parents, helping them navigate the challenges of raising happy, healthy, and well adjusted children. Leadership and mentorship have also been Harsha's area of expertise, and she has inspired many educators, parents, and students to strive for excellence and make a positive difference in their communities. Her philosophy is built on the belief that every individual has unique potential and deserves support, guidance, and opportunities to grow. She emphasizes the importance of nurturing emotional intelligence, creativity, and critical thinking skills in children and adults alike. Through her work, Harsha has transformed lives by empowering parents, educators, and students with knowledge, skills, and confidence, inspired innovation by promoting creative approaches to education and parenting, fostered community by building networks of support and collaboration among families, schools, and communities. As a respected visionary, educationist, and parenting expert, Harsha Girish Ramaya continues to inspire and empower individuals, shaping the future of education and family dynamics. We are very, very lucky today. Thank you very much for agreeing to guide us during this session, Harsha. I would now like to hand over to you and welcome you again on behalf of the full unaided schools family and on behalf of Mr. Kedia and the full team. Thank you very much. Please take the section forward, Harsha.
Thank you so much for this warm welcome and introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kedia sir, for giving me this opportunity to interact with this group of educators. Thank you so much. I'm so fortunate. So, without any ado, let's start the session today. The topic that I'm going to take today is creating inclusive classrooms. So, 20 years back, when I started my own preschool, that time the word inclusion was very new to all of us because at that time, the children who used to get admitted in the school were more or less having very less challenges. And at that time, 20 years back, 2005, I'm talking, at that time, the word inclusion hardly existed. And hardly we came across those kind of children who needed extra guidance. But when I look down today, after 20 years, I feel the ratio of special children has increased everywhere in every school. So it becomes very important and very crucial on an educator's part to understand what inclusion means. Again, I'll talk about 2005. It was the time when if a child entered a school who had some physical challenge, some mental challenge, some social challenge, the schools would resist to take admission. They straight away would say that we don't allow this kind of children in our schools. There are different schools made for them. You can take admission there. That was the scenario. And gradually, this society, as the awareness increased about inclusion, schools also started realizing that if society as a whole, education sector as a whole, come together and make inclusion possible, it is very, very helpful to the child and its progress. Hence, awareness started spreading. People started talking about inclusion. People started talking about how can inclusion be taken place in society, in education, and today, when we are standing at 2025, I think inclusion is one of the best practices that we can do to make some changes. We can contribute to make some changes in their lives. So, before we jump in directly to creating the inclusive classrooms, I would like to take a minute and start understanding exactly what do you mean by special needs. So I'll just share my screen so that you all can have a look on what I'm going to talk today. So before we understand inclusion, it's very important to understand the types of special needs. And what I have mentioned here are a very few generally that we deal in school. But there are many more because it's a spectrum. There are many more special needs, but a few I have mentioned for all the educators to understand. So, the basic we come across these word terminologies, these words we come across in our daily lives is ASD, ADHD, hyperactive. But we have very little information on this. And sometimes parents come with that labeling that the child is having ADHD, whereas the child actually doesn't have. And sometimes teachers find the child to be very active and hence we label it. So it's very important for us, even the parents community and educators community, to understand in detail before coming to a conclusion or labeling any child. So these are a few that I have listed. Autism spectrum disorder. Children with ASD may have difficulties with social interactions, communication, and repetitive behavior. So these are those children whom we find they have a communication disorder. They cannot communicate well. So, here, as an educator, it's very important that we understand and we don't start judging each and every child. We don't start measuring each and every child under this parameter. So, when we have to identify any child in the classroom, there is a process. We cannot take this measurement and start evaluating each child under this scale. It's just for our understanding, and when needed, we should apply this knowledge. Second is the most found, the most talked, the most labeled, and very easy to use terminology ADHD. मेरे बच्चे को ADHD है, इसको जरूर ADHD होगा. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So basically, this is a behavioral disorder. Children with ADHD may have difficulties with attention. They may be impulsive in their behavior and they may be very fidgety, very hyperactive. So at times we try to put most of the children under this category because today, if we talk about attention deficit, I think every one of us is attention deficit at some point of time. And children today are engaged with technology, with devices, with digital. That's why we feel hyperactive disorder because at times in a class, everybody must have faced this that children today do not want to sit in one place for a longer time. Their attention or being into one zone for more than 10-15 minutes is like too much. 15 minutes is more than enough. After that, they need change. So, whenever we are identifying any child under this category, it's very important for us to be mindful. Knowledge, to have knowledge of ADHD is good, but applying that knowledge for every child is not good. So, here there's going to be a boundary when we are identifying. So, when we move ahead with the presentation, I will explain to you that if you come across any child in your classroom, how to identify, what are the measures, and then how you can help to solve that problem. Third one, too much prevalent in today's day and age is speech and language disorder. So, children with speech and language disorder may have difficulties communication, in articulation, and language comprehension. So, here, when I'm talking about speech specifically, because I run a preschool and when we have admissions, mostly 1.5 year child starts speaking, not fluently, but starts speaking two words, 4 words, trying to build up sentences. But here today, what happens is the child taking admission in, say, nursery class, he's completed 3 years, but struggling to even say 2 words. Even y'all must have noticed that speech delay and language disorder is very, very, very frequent. If I say I'm attending to 10 inquiries in a day, I will have at least one or two who would tell me that my child is having a speech delay. There are a couple of reasons behind this development, because today's environment is that is given to the child also helps in speech delay, because the kind of atmosphere the child is interacting with is one of the main or one of the core reasons why we find speech difficulty. So this is very easy to identify because we have a milestone that beyond this milestone, if the child is not speaking 2 words, then it's a red flag and we need to now work on it. So this is very easily we can attend to this special need. Physical disabilities. Even these are very easy to identify because here children with physical disabilities may have problems with mobility, coordination, and fine motor skills. So you can make out when they are moving, their balance, their body alignment, or a certain part of their body alignment is not functioning to the core. So it's very easy for us to identify that there is some physical problem with the child. The child may have eye hand coordination because when they are doing their fine motor activities, we can easily identify that the child is not able to even thread a bead. A very simple activity as rolling and unrolling the napkin, we find that the child is having difficulty in doing that activity or those kind of activities. Emotional and behavioral disorders. In today's day and age, again, number six, special need, I think, is more prevalent. There are a lot of outside factors which come together to create this disorder. But in children today, we find this very much. And as a teacher, as an educator, it's very important that we are aware of this disorder. We are able to identify this disorder, and once we've identified, we are able to contribute to solve this disorder. So, this is a two-way process, identifying and solving. And only then we are able to touch the problem and hence overcome that problem. So, when I talk about emotional and behavioral disorder, children with this disorder may have difficulties regarding emotional regulation. If they are sad, they don't know why they are sad. If they are happy, they don't know why they are happy. Or if they know, they are not able to express. And hence, when we are not able to express, it leads to frustration. Social interaction and behavior management is the biggest concern when I talk about emotional and behavioral disorders. Of course, parenting comes in to this sector to a big extent, to a large extent, but children with this special need are many in today's age. So if a teacher is not aware and teacher is not educated on this topic, ultimately the class will go into a chaos and the teacher will not be able to deliver what she is expected to. So it's very important to understand all these disorders because all these disorders are present in our classrooms today. Sensory processing disorder. So, this disorder may have difficulties with processing and integrating sensory information. So, for example, if the child has touched anything which is, say, hot, if we have touched, suddenly we'll take our hands off. But if this child is having processing disorders, it may happen that the child may touch and it may take a few seconds for the child to understand because that signal that goes to the brain may be delayed. So, if he's touching something which is very hot or something, the texture of anything which is very hard or rough or thorny, it may take a couple of seconds delay for the child to process that whatever I have touched is having this kind of a feeling. So that also is very easy to identify because when we are doing activities with children, we definitely get a clue of that this child is having this kind of a problem. But if we are not aware of where to put this child under which category of problem, that is why we are conducting today's session, that we know that okay, fine, this child is having sensory processing disorder. Otherwise what we do is, if we are not aware of this terminology, we say this child is having some problem, kuch problem hai iske sath. I don't know what is the problem, but when he does this, only this much problem, when he does this activity, there is a problem, otherwise the child is fine. But this problem has a name called sensory processing disorder, wherein the child is not able to process the information that is conducted by the senses. It could be through hands. We all know that we have five sense organs. There are eight, but generally we talk about five. So if they smell something, if they taste something, it takes a couple of seconds for them to register what they've done. Then is visual impairments. Visual and hearing impairments, I'm sure everybody knows that this impairment with visual is something to do with vision, slight blindness, or low vision. And hearing is about difficulty of hearing sounds. It could be complete deafness or a slight or partial deafness. So these are specifically the special needs that we have in our classrooms today. Second, what I've done today is I have created an acronym for this word inclusion for our best understanding. So if we just, take a printout of this and put it in on a notice board, I think we will just have an outline of what inclusion means. So in the previous slide, we talked about types of special needs. If you have to add any more type of special needs, definitely use the comment section and let me know if you have any child which is out of this list. So that will be a great learning for me as well, that even these kind of children are found in the classrooms. So if you have any children who are not listed in these special needs, kindly use the comment section box and I will be happy to read them. Now, when we talk about inclusion, the word inclusion and the acronym that I have created, we will, in this presentation, we will go through each and every letter that is mentioned in the word inclusion to better have the understanding, deep understanding of how we can create inclusive classrooms. So the first letter I, identify and value diversity. We will be deep diving into these topics, but let me just touch the surface of all the letters. Number two, nurture an inclusive environment. C, celebrate differences and promote equity. Equality. There's a typo error.
Need a meeting.
Hello.
तू कहाँ पे पहुंची? तू क्या देख रही है? कैलेंडर क्यों ऑन किया तूने?
Can anyone help me to mute this?
बंद हो गया तेरा.
Hello. Can the admin help me to mute? Someone's mic is on.
No network.
Hello. Hello.
बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा.
Can the admin help me to mute this?
Okay, mute.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would request all the participants to kindly mute. Still, there is a disturbance. Thank you. I request all the participants once again to keep their mobiles or laptops on mute because it will break the session in between. C, celebrate differences and promote equality. L, listen to diverse perspectives. U, understand and respect individual needs. S, support diverse learners and communities. I, innovate and adapt to meet diverse needs. O, most important of all the letters, O, own your role in promoting inclusion. We will be talking in detail about each and every letter, but O is the most important. N, navigate challenges with empathy and understanding. So let's understand the first, identify and value diversity. There are four main topics under this, which I'm going to cover today. Observing student behavior, the most important, because everything many a times I've seen in my schools also, before then parents, the teachers are able to identify the special need, and then we have to go to the parents and tell them that I find this kind of a problem with this child. And many a times it must have happened that the parents do not agree, and we have to then counsel the parents, convince the parents that there is some issue, you have to take some guidance, and as a school and as parents we both have to come together. So very important, because this role of identification, I always feel that that lies under the teacher's radar highly. So how can you identify? How can you know that this child is having a problem? So observation, number one, is the key. So what will you observe? Monitor academic performance, note difficulties that the child has with learning, retaining information. If they are not able to retain information, say for example you've given some instruction, sometimes it's one set of instruction, sometimes we have double triple instruction. Remove the book, open the book to page number 16, underline the third paragraph. Sometimes we give multiple instructions, and when you feel the child is not able to retain that, and again, so once and twice everything can go here and there. But if the behavior is repetitive, I think it's a red flag. So completing the task, so if it's a generic task that the class is being given something, say for example a coloring assignment, and if you feel that all the children on an average complete this assignment say in 30 minutes, but this child has not even completed 10%, and this happens again and again, so that calls for attention. So this is what comes under a teacher's observation. Anything that you notice which is not the certain way, which doesn't fall in the average category of the child, is a red flag. And when you mark the child once in your book that Rahul is having some problem. What problem will come later, but some problem underline, then keep re observing that child again and again and again before jumping onto conclusions. Because if the child is not able to meet the expectations of the teacher or the syllabus once, twice, thrice, there could be a lot of other reasons. The child is not well today, the child doesn't have the required equipments, the child is not interested, the child has some problem with the neighbor child. But if this keeps on repeating again and again and again, then you will have to note down. Second, observe social interactions. When you've now noted down that Rahul is having some problem with academics, his task doesn't get completed every time. He has some because delayed completion. So then you've now noted Rahul's name. Now you start observing his social behavior. How does he behave socially? Watch for the challenges that he has with his peer group of sharing, cooperating, behaving in a certain way. Those kind of behaviors start noting down. So if you have a class of 30, maybe 2 to 3 children will have this kind of a problem wherein you need to address them, or you need to just mention their name and then put them into your observation diary. Not all will need, because by and large, if I say a class of 20 or 20, say for example, if we are talking about class of 20, you may have 1 or 2 children who may fall in the list of special needs. It could be anything: behavior, ADHD, listening problem, speaking problem, could be anything. But to get there, if you find anything which is not normal again and again, it is a repetitive practice by the child, then you will have to watch that child very closely. Note the behavior patterns, because if the child is falling under any of the special needs, the behavior will tell. The behavioral pattern will definitely tell. There are some signals that the child give us. And if we are not observant, we will not be able to identify, and hence we will not be able to address. So it's very important that if we have someone in the class, we open our diary, we write down the name, and then we start observing everything in detail: the child's behavior, the child's communication, the child's peer behavior, the child's behavior with you, completion task, academic, what the child's understanding power is, the child's grasping power, everything. And sometimes it may so happen that you've tried everything, but then at certain point of time you feel, Nana, I was thinking too much, everything is correct. So don't jump onto conclusions, because putting any child under a special need just on the list also is a big thing, because you have labeled in your mind, you have started wearing that lens and seeing that child through that lens, and hence your behavior is speaking. So try to be very, very mindful. Don't try to be very liberal. Don't try to be very strict. Number two, academic indicators. When we talk about identifying and valuing diversity. So, when it comes to academic indicators, it's very easy. But again, at times we become very fast in that. So, difficulty with specific subjects, say, for example, spellings, math, numbers, we find that the child is either reading the numbers in a certain way, not understanding the spellings, not able to read. These are also indicators that the child may have some problem. We've seen the movie Tare Zameen Par, and it has helped us understand that these kind of problems exist. So we have to be very mindful in understanding those problems, in addressing those problems and accommodating those problems. QAA, understanding, addressing, and accommodating. So, second is academic indicators. Third is very important, social and emotional indicators. So, here, when we have to identify, we will see that this kind of children struggle to manage their feelings, their outbursts are very frequent. They start either crying very frequently or they start withdrawing very frequently. They don't engage or participate. So, if we find this kind of a behavior again and again, this child goes in our observation diary. We have identified, we will address, and we will accommodate. This is as simple as that. But when I'm talking about social, emotional indicators and observation, we have to be very mindful because today's children are highly pampered. Today's children don't know social and emotional regulation because their interaction is with this device more than with the people or more with their peer group. So there is a very thin line for us to identify whether this child falls for our observation diary or no. Challenges to understand social cues. So, for example, it's a festival, Diwali festival. So, for example, this child doesn't understand that simple thing. Okay. So, if the crackers are being bursted, this child suddenly, feels too much. He cannot take the voice of the crackers, the noise, and everything, and he withdraws from celebrating. So, for example, if we are celebrating Holi in the school, the child doesn't, he doesn't like crowd. He's not getting into that festive mood. That also is an alarm. Sometimes children don't like, and sometimes children have that impatience towards that thing which falls under the special needs. So there is a very short and small difference between the child not liking and the child having a special need for this. So the teacher has to be very, very mindful when you are identifying. Difficulty in initiating and maintaining a conversation, struggling to start friendship. These are small, small things. But if this happens every time with the child withdraws to participate in a group, means the child has some socio emotional issues. And if, see, when I'm talking about special need, doesn't mean that every time you have problems with your body and mind, these are problems with your inner self. And this also has to be addressed. And if addressed at a younger age, it helps. Because in the formative years, the child is not only building his character, the child is building his nature. Thank you. Then talking about physical and sensory indicators. So physical special need is easily identified because the child is not able to walk properly. The child is having some balance or alignment disorder. We can identify. But when it's about sensory, as I talked, it needs attention because most of the time what happens, in our classrooms, suppose the child has some sensory issues, we feel the child doesn't like to do, and many a time it just goes under the flow, and we write down also the child was not interested to do this activity. So for example, if we have a walk, sensory walk, wherein there are different type of textures put on the floor and the child is walking over it. Can I request the admin to please put everyone automatically on mute because I'm kind of breaking the link of what I'm talking. Okay. So I was talking about the sensory walk. So many a times, sometimes some things are very hard. So children resist. I don't want to walk. But if this happens on a regular basis with everything, then it's an alarm. So physical and sensory indicators. So a teacher has to be very mindful because you have a mixed bag in your classrooms. And to identify this child has a special need, number one, then identifying what special need, number two, are two important, crucial things that the teacher should be aware and educated of. So, the number one thing is identify and value diversity. Number two, how can we create our classrooms that provide an inclusive environment? Because in our classrooms, there are children who cannot do with whatever is offered in the classroom. They need something which is a little extra, something which is a special. So, how can we as teachers create that kind of a classroom which is inclusive, wherein the children who don't have any special need can be accommodated, and the children who have a certain special need also can be accommodated? And this is the challenge, and the challenge the teachers have to learn, understand, and accept. Because our classroom is not only with the furniture, but it is with the teacher's mindset. Because many a times I have seen that if there is a special need child in the classroom, the child is treated in a special manner. And when I'm talking about this word special manner means the child is away or different, treated differently. Means if you are distributing assignments, say for example, assessment papers or assignments or any activity to the children, the teacher in her mind is noting that this child is special, so I will treat that child differently. This is good and bad both ways, because for me, I have already differentiated this child. And hence, what I will do is either I will be very fast in distributing to the rest and then addressing this child, or I will be very fast in just giving this child, because in my head, I know that how much ever I try, this child is not going to respond to me. So here comes the word nurture. Because when we have a class of 20, we have to complete the targeted syllabus in the given deadline with that child or those children in the classroom who have special needs. So here comes the teacher to be more expert in how to balance that. So the mind of the teacher has to be very clear that this 18 children in my class need this time limit, this attention, this instruction, this way. And these two children out of those 20 have to be given this attention, this instruction, this infrastructure in this manner. If we are not clear here, we will not be clear in our words, in our actions, in our delivery. And hence, how much ever we try inclusion, we don't practice that because we differentiate. These are normal, these are special. उसको थोड़ा ज्यादा स्पेशल अटेंशन चाहिए होगा, उसको रहने दो अभी, उसको मैं बाद में पर्सनली बुला के करवा लूंगी. Because for me, I have to get the work done, period. But does this mean inclusion? No. We practice inclusion, but in our heads, we are very clear that we are differentiating. इसका हो जाएगा, इसको मैं करवा दूंगी. So in the starting phase, I agree because I too have been a teacher. I know it's difficult to get them to that level wherein, they can be independent individuals. So in our heads, we have to be very clear what we are giving them, because we have to nurture, we have to create classrooms that are inclusive and not differentiated, create a welcoming atmosphere for the children. It's very important. I know I see a lot of reels, a lot of stories of teachers now creating a welcoming space wherein they are giving a high five, a hug, a shake hand, or something. I know we are becoming very creative. But again, I want to ask, does this come from within or does this come for reals? That's my question. And I don't need the answer. The answer has to be given to your within. So get to know your students. I always say KYC. When we go to the bank, also we fill this form, say KYC. I think for us also it implies know your child, know your class. Very important. And if we are able to decode this KYC, all problems are sorted. Because for a teacher, it's just about properly managing the class in the head. If it's managed here, rest will fall in place. And this I'm talking about out of experience, not out of theories. I'm talking out of experience. Yes, of course, today's children definitely sometimes give you a little hard time. But if you're clear here, if you have known your class well, if your class has known you well, definitely things are easy. It's just about that little fine tuning. So get to know your students, learn about their interests, strengths, and challenges. This, when I'm talking about special needs, because those are the children whom you have to address and nurture. So for that, you will have to know their mood swings, their interests, their strengths, what challenges they are facing, everything. Use inclusive language. Use inclusive language. And this, I think the teachers should have that vocabulary in their regular tone as well. Because inclusivity is not only in classrooms, it's everywhere, even in the building that we are living in, even in the supermarket that we are going. Everywhere we have people who are having some or the other special needs. So, learning that inclusive language will help, because many a times I've seen teachers using that kind of language. I'm not telling slang, but that kind of a behavior. Rahul, तुम 1 मिनट रुक जाओ, तुमको अभी नहीं आएगा. 5 minutes, I will finish with them and I'll come back to you. This, I think, most of us have done, but this doesn't work. In your minds, you have to have inclusive vocabulary. That in itself is another presentation we can talk about. But because I'm touching the topic in detail, I will not go much deeper into this. But inclusive language is a must, is a must, wherein you don't differentiate that child, because your comment, Rahul Abhinay tumko nahi aayega, is telling other 18 children also in the classroom that Rahul is having some problem. And this is not nurturing. This is not creating an inclusive environment wherein if I am the teacher, I will say, Reena, can you just help Rahul with this? Bonding. I'm sure you all must be practicing, but a mindful pairing, mindful bonding of a child who needs help with the child who can offer help. If you are able to make that right combination, you've won the battle. Because that arena today is helping Rahul with the child who has a special need, this Reena is now developing a character of helping and creating inclusivity in society. One comment, तुम नहीं कर सकते, रुको, मुझे तुम्हें करवाना पड़ेगा, रुको, is sending a wrong signal to Rahul and to the 18 children in the classroom. And then we don't even realize that even children have started now using that kind of a language. वो राहुल को नहीं आएगा. Don't take him, he won't be able to play. Don't give him this, he will not complete in time. When I'm talking about nurture an inclusive classroom means you are the nurturer of that garden. For you, every rose, even if it is different in shape, size, color, for you as a nurturer, it's beautiful. That is very important. The shift in your mindset. How many of the lectures you attend about understanding inclusivity or understanding inclusion? Theories, you may watch 100 videos, but if you're not clear in your head, if you're not ready to make that mind shift, nothing will work. So that is very important. Creating, supporting a diverse learning needs. So in your classroom, you need to have those kind of equipments. I think your management steps in because you have identified you are doing your duty, but you will need some equipments which can help your work enhance. So bring that management in, make them understand that if I have this kind of a facility in my classroom, this child's special needs will be catered to the T. And together we can bring change in that child. This is not simple as I say. I know at times the teacher is convinced, the teacher is able to do, but the management doesn't support. So this is an equal load sharing, a responsibility of teacher, management, parent, a community as a whole. Promoting social and emotional learning. So when you have an inclusive classroom, that you're having two or three children who have certain problems, your classroom should be empathetic, not sympathetic. You will have to think out of the box. You will have to create that kind of an atmosphere in the classroom, an environment in the classroom where your children practice empathy. Your children practice sharing is caring. Because you will have to create your replicas in the classroom when we are talking about nurturing an inclusive classroom. Your children will have to sense what you sense. Your children, those 18 children I'm talking, will have to think the way you think. And it's very easy, let me tell you. If you've if you're able to link Reena or pair Reena with Rahul for a work, you will see wonders. And this is not one time assignment. Because when you're pairing Reena, who's a leader in the classroom, with Rahul, who needs certain attention, you are just plugging them together. And you're able to then praise and appreciate Reena for her work in moderation. When I'm talking about appreciation, don't go overboard also, because then it becomes overconfidence. You're able to do that and strike the correct balance between everything. You will see every other child can become Reena for Rahul. And don't always choose Reena. Choose different Reena for different tasks, because Reena may be good for, say, helping him in coloring. But maybe Sheena may be good with conversation skills, communication abilities. So try these combinations, and you will see Rahul as an individual is so easily gelled up in this 18 children group, and inclusion practiced. You don't have to make any effort. For you now, Rahul is one amongst those 18 because you, as a teacher, have identified Rahul with a special need. This child is having this special need, and you have identified those 18 children with their strengths, and everybody is getting a chance. Supposing if this child is having balance issue of walking down the stairs, and you see Ratan is excellent in holding hands. You can ask Ratan every time when you go out for recess, Ratan, it's your responsibility to be with Rahul. See, the, as I speak, it's very simple for me to say, but when to put in practice, it may be difficult, it may be time taking, but that effort is worth an effort. And then, in true sense, you will be able to say that my classroom is inclusive. It's not just taking an enrollment and giving a seat to a child and telling my classroom is an inclusive classroom. No, you have to nurture it. You have to be a gardener, and you have to like every rose in your classroom. Next, celebrate differences and promote equality. So here there's a typo error, equality. So when I'm talking about celebrating differences is, of course, there are days, autism day, this day, that day, and we celebrate those day. And then, we call it that we are an inclusive school or an inclusive classroom, and our duty ends there. No. For me, when I'm talking about celebrating differences means read books that showcase diversity in your timetable. When you're having a reading time, bring in those books which talk about diversity. It could be picture books, it could be books with stories, it could be books with illustrations. And today, everything is available on the internet. It's just that you type in the right question and you will get the right answers. So try and get those books in your classroom wherein you are not pinpointing any difference, but you are talking about that difference and celebrating that difference. So it could be, when I'm talking about differences, I'm not talking only about physical differences, that the child is having physical issues or the child is having mental issues or socio-emotional issues. No, I'm talking about even diverse families wherein the child has a single parent. The child doesn't have grandparents, because many a times we celebrate Father's Day and then we come to know this child doesn't have a father. This also calls for an inclusion. When we celebrate Grandparents' Day, we come to know that this child doesn't have grandparents. Have we ever thought that when we roll out the poster and everybody's fathers are coming in, this child doesn't have a father, either he's no more or they're separated, what that child must be going through? So try bringing in those different topics in your classroom and age specific. Don't try to take content and deliver content which the child doesn't even understand. If you have a child in your classroom who has lost his father or doesn't have a father, pick up that topic in a way that that problem is addressed and that child is even not aware that I am touched. To create sensitivity in the children. See, inclusion doesn't mean that in this class the child is having physical problem and we all are coming and helping that child walk down the staircase or help him climb up the staircase or making him sit in the classroom comfortably. No, it's about understanding every difference that is in the society. It could be of the ability, it could be of the culture. Even cultures are different. So try and talk about these differences in your classroom. Cultural activities. I'm sure we do a lot of, I think now the schools have to slow down in doing the activities, because I feel lot of activities are going on in the schools which don't allow the children to even absorb. Then a friendship circle. This is what I read somewhere in one of the books and I tried to implement, and it has kind of worked very well. So friendship circle is, hold a friendship circle to discuss similarities and differences. So you make children sit in a circle and then tell them that today you have to talk about five similarities. It could be similarities such as you wearing same dress or same color dress, you are going in the same transportation, or anything. You, the color of the tiffin box is same, something like that. You're talking about similarities and differences. So these differences are not related to only ability, that okay fine, this child can't hear, this child can't see, or this child can't walk properly, this child can't understand properly. No, this is simple understanding the similarities and understanding the differences. Very base activity, which then will help the children understand inclusion. Because understanding and accepting are two different things. But to accept, we have to understand. So it's a very simple thing. You just sit in a, it's like any other activity. But children have loved this. Try this and let me know. Second is promoting equality, not by words, but with actions. Share and care, and encourage sharing and caring in classroom. And when I talk about equality, what we practice is, so most of the times for share and care, what we do is coloring activities given in the classroom. And few children have colors, and few children we take the colors randomly. In a class of 20, we just say roll number 1, 6, 12, 13, 18, 20 will give their colors to the teachers. Rest of the class are having their colors. Now the task is, you all have to group and complete the activity. थोड़ा chaos होता है, पर the idea is to promote sharing and caring, which is the biggest pillar of equality. When parents say, today's nuclear families, parents say, my child doesn't know how to share and care. Of course, he will not know because he doesn't have anybody. But if in the classroom you try this, थोड़ा क्योस जरूर होता है, I will not say. So if you're mentally prepared कि चलो आज तो 15 मिनट में I will try, and अगर एक्टिविटी हुआ तो हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ, but my take away from this or my learning to the children is share and care, not activity. Try this and you will see there are children in the classroom who will go in, Rahul, yellow color, that sun is of yellow color, I am having that yellow color. My purpose is served. And I don't know when inclusion has taken place. Because for me, this is a general classroom. I don't know if Rahul has the colors or no. I don't know if Reena has colors or no. Sheena has the colors or no. And at times do this also. Half of the children distribute assignments. Half of the children color sheets. To half of the children distribute colors. Now tell them to unite. And 5 minutes का chaos है, उसके बाद शांति ही शांति. And you will see inclusion gelling up and seeping in so seamlessly. Simple things for creating an inclusive classrooms. Thoda effort. Thoda effort. And if you are able to do that, wonders. Fostering empathy. This needs lot of understanding with the teacher, and hence she can pass on to the children. Because we don't want children to have sympathy. Oh, Rahul bichara ye kar nahi sakta. No. We don't want those kind of children. We want children who have that thought that if I help Rahul little bit, he will be able to accomplish this task. We want to create that generation. And how will that happen? Deleting sympathy and getting empathy. So these activities, which I told you, n number of activities can be done with children wherein half of the class is given and half of the class is not given. ये तो coloring ही बोला मैंने. If you have assignments, say for example, connecting dots वाला कुछ हो, pair up 3-4 children, give them a task and tell them easily, and you will come back and thank me, ma'am. We never knew this could happen, and this has worked wonders. And when the children in the classroom, see, I'm talking about discipline also. This is a little different than the topic that we are talking, but let me cover this up. So when we talk about discipline, if you're not able to put children for the right work, discipline will never come. And if we are able to fine tune the children with these activities, because these are activities which are very unstructured activities, and even these activities the children are able to team up, discipline automatic and guaranteed discipline. When you're going out to play, for example, a few children you can dedicate that these 4 children are going to take the leadership and see to it that the line is being formed, and all the children do their sliding turn wise. 20 children you've taken to the park, and out of 20 now you've selected 4 children to become the leaders for this game, and the rest of them have to make the line, climb up on the staircase, and then slide down. Simple activity. 4 children are the leader for that activity. One of them will take care of the line. Another child is going to take care if somebody is going to fall. And automatically twice or thrice, if you do this, no, you will have to just observe standing at the distant place. Easily. आज इन 4 का टर्न है, कल दूसरे 4 का टर्न होगा, बाद में दूसरे 4 का टर्न होगा. You never know when you've created leaders. But anything that you try in your classroom, I always say that it needs clarity here, confidence here that ये होगा ही होगा. Sure shot पहली बार में नहीं होगा, but 2-3 बार के बाद you will see children automatically doing it. And when you are able to put that kind of a classroom, that kind of a setup, inclusivity automatically comes in. You don't have to put any extra efforts. Next, listen. This, I think, not in inclusivity, but as a human being, as a whole, I think everybody of us, listening is the problem. Pan world. Everybody wants to just say. Before even the word said, the meaning is understood, the interpretation has been done, and we are ready with the answer before even the story that the person is saying or the thing that the person is sharing, we are ready. So when we talk about inclusivity in the classroom, our ears have to be cleaned every day, because a little lap in listening can create big problems. And when I'm talking about listening, it's not about the words spoken by the child. Listening to the silences, the withdrawals, the tantrums, the silent tantrums. Because sometimes in the classroom, we've seen children who don't cry loudly. They cry andar se. And we can listen to those siskiyat because they've cried so much inside that they are not able to talk. If as a teacher, I'm able to listen to those silences, to those eyes that say much more than the words, I will definitely create an inclusive classroom. Because as a teacher, it's very important to see what is between the lines. If the child is throwing tantrums, there's an alarm. If the child is withdrawing, there's an alarm. If the child is behaving in a certain way, there's an alarm. Every situation beyond average is an alarm. If you have a classroom wherein all the children are scared of you, you walk in and everybody is disciplined, not good. Not good at all. If you're walking in the class and you are having a classroom which is full chaotic, not good. Balance is the word. Balance in if as a teacher you are able to reach that stage wherein you understand the eyes of the children. Sometimes it may so happen that you want to finish a certain topic and you feel that the children are not ready or not in mood today to learn how much ever they are fearful of you, and you try finishing the topic. At the end goal they have not understood anything. It's just that you've spoken and they've taken it. Bus. Is the goal achieved? No. But if I am a mindful teacher, if I know to read the eyes and the behavior of the children, within 5 minutes you can gauge that the classroom is in your control. In control means in control of understanding or accepting what you're saying. And if you're not able to understand that and you're just blah, 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 just one way interaction is going on, you can never forget about inclusivity. You can never touch a child's heart. If I ask you today in the mid of this session that एक कोई भी ऐसा टीचर याद करो जिसने बचपन में तुम्हारे दिमाग में एक छाप छोड़ा है. I'm sure everybody has one teacher. In a blink of an eye, everybody has that one teacher. You don't have to think long for that. Don't we? Yes. Why? Because that teacher was different than everybody else. Are we that teacher? If not, we have to work hard. That's the bottom line of everything when I talk about inclusion. Because in this profession, specifically when we are talking about inclusion today, it's not about completing the syllabus. It's not about delivering. It's about touching lives and changing lives. And if we are not able to go a mile extra, we are a robot. So, active listening, give your full attention. Your listening means a teacher's listening tools are not only her ears, her eyes, her behavior. Everything is a tool for listening. Because when you are too high on children, you are shouting, you can gauge some children's eyes, that they are very scared. Every tone of ours matters on a child's head and heart and behavior. And if we have an inclusive classroom, all the more mindful we have to be. Because to discipline children, shouting is not the tool. The louder you are, the louder the children will be. So when you have an inclusion classroom, your listening tools are not only these. You're not only these. And the most important tool that an inclusive teacher should carry every day is an intention to deliver extra. And I always tell my teachers in my school as well that if you are not ready within to take up a class which is inclusive, tell me outrightly. Because unnecessary, you are not comfortable, you will not deliver. Hence, that child will go even more behind than where he is today. We are in that profession wherein We cannot afford to be comfortable. And if we choose to be comfortable, at least the best we can do is, at least if you're not able to be in that mindset or in a mind shift to be an inclusive teacher, might as well talk to the management that I won't be able to take this, rather than just coming in the classroom as a robot and keeping that child away from the rest and not experimenting different methods to involve that child. It's going to make it worse. So listening is the most important tool that an inclusive teacher should have. That is a must when we talk about inclusive classrooms. Next, embracing different point of views. So sometimes, we have some our own biases regarding certain special needs. ये तो ठीक होगा ही नहीं, इसको कितनी भी बार बोलो ना, ये नहीं हो सकता, भले वो लेक्चरर ने बोला, वो ट्रेनर ने बोला, इसका नहीं हो सकता कुछ. Some biases, some prejudices we carry, because what we have learned from the society about special needs is very different than what it actually is. Because when we talk about, say, a child who is little mentally retarded, because we feel that in the behavior of the child, say, we talk about Rahul. Rahul has some problem with his brains, his little problems. So we find that in his behavior. And that behavior, sometimes it happens. Practically, what I'm talking is, he may behave in a certain way, and we feel that this child is behaving in a certain way, and other children are copying that behavior in the classroom. I'm sure this happens with most of the teachers, that if there's a child who has some mental problem, may roll down on the floor or start spitting, there are certain behaviors which are not likely to be a behavior in a classroom, and we think कि कितना भी कर लो ये change हो ही नहीं रहा है. There are certain behaviors of those children, because I have faced that, because we have some special need children in our schools. So sometimes those behaviors are above of what we are ready. Then what to do? First of all, to the best of your core strength, try to get into that, to understand that problem, to understand why that child is doing so, and then how to deal with that child along with those 18, 20 other children in the classroom. And this stage of a teacher is very crucial, because at times we want to deliver extra, we want to deliver more than 100%, but nothing is showing up. Now comes the community involvement, wherein the parents come in the picture. Involve the parents, and then try, if you are trying counseling the parent twice, try thrice. If needed, more. Bring them to the level of understanding that you have, and then you will find some gradual changes. And if you feel that the behavior is not too much welcoming in the classroom, and actually it is disturbing, the behavior, the child's actions that the child is doing, because it may happen. So if you are not able to, if you've put your 110% and then the results are not meeting up, talk to the management. Then that problem is above your control. But what I see is, thoda bhi hota hai na, teachers will run to the management, ma'am, this child is not sitting. Of course that child will not sit, because he is a special child. आप अपनी तरह से 1000% try कर लो, and then come try with the parents also. If nothing works, then put that problem in the management box, because ऐसा भी होगा. But on the contrary, I will say there are examples wherein we have children with special needs, and we've seen those children gelling up. Then in the class of 20, we can't even identify, Kya ye Rahul, he's behaving so normally. Now he is good to go with normal children. This also happens, and this happens more So if you have 1-2% of those children whose behavior, whose actions are actually disturbing your child, you've tried everything, then drop that box in the management section. But till then, listen, be very vigilant, be very attentive, and try to touch the last chord to make a little difference. That definitely you can. Understand what I have been talking throughout the presentation. Many things may repeat, but I think that revision also is needed. So you will find a lot of repetition also, and me also telling you some things again and again, because some things need registration. So I'm talking again and again. You understand and respect individual needs. Now, this goes both for normal children and special needs children, because today's children all are special. So everybody needs different kinds of attention. But when we are talking about special needs, let me uh, talk on this understanding the individual needs. As I said, KYC. Can anyone type in what does KYC mean? I have already covered before. तो मुझे पता चले कि दोपहर के खाने के बाद आप सब जग रहे हो कि सो रहे हो. What does KYC mean? They, okay, know your child. Khyati, very good. There was another thing also. Yes, know your class. Manisha, Simran, thank you. Shruti, Myra, wonderful. Wonderful. मतलब थोड़े, yes, Rekha, thank you. Thank you, Smita. Thank you so much. Surabhi, thank you. Thank you, Shraddha. Thank you, Beena. Thank you, Ami, Sanchali. Wow. मतलब सारे जगे हुए ही हैं. I thought I am making you to sleep. ऐसा लग रहा था. Sophia, thank you. Savita, thank you so much. So these are the two things. Yes, Kushali, Ajalpa, Ritu, Babita, Jigna, Roshni, Shipra, Sheetal, Curriculum 1, Bharti, Vrushali, Suvarna, Poonam, Jaya. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Chetana. Thank you, everyone. So know your children and know your class are the two keys, most important keys, not for special needs, otherwise also. Special needs के लिए तो है ही है, but otherwise also. Learn about their strengths, needs, their challenges, and their preferences. Because preferences also is a language that a teacher should understand. It's very important that when you are talking about any topic in the classroom, you sense the vibrations that आज मैंने जो class लिया 100% everybody enjoyed. Today 50% children enjoyed and 50% could not pay attention. Work on why those 50% did not pay attention. और जितना you will try rethinking, introspecting, you will polish your craft more and more. You will know that every topic that I take in the classroom, in an inclusive classroom, does not need the same weightage. Some topics are very detailed, some topics don't need detailing. So understand your class well. And if you are able to crack that, bingo, you are that teacher जो अभी मैंने याद करवाया और आपको आई थी. You definitely will become that teacher. And this profession and the salaries that we get उसका कुछ matching नहीं है. So if you are for salaries, this is the wrong profession. Okay, so let me make that one thing very clear. This is a thankless profession. It's a very rewarding, if you're thinking, thank you, no. It's a very rewarding profession. And those rewards are earned after 10, 15, 20 years when your children meet you somewhere and they come and they bow down to you. I mean, that feeling is super se bhi bahut upar. So Observe and assess. Observe and assess. Your children's behavior need to be observed, and then you need to assess that behavior. That behavior which is little different than normal. उस बच्चे ने, for example, we've picked up Rahul today. Why Rahul does this very differently? Once you start assessing that, you will you are trying to now get into the problem's roots, and you yourself will start getting the answers. So these experts who offer experiments to us, what they have done, they have observed, they have assessed, they have analyzed. So if we see Rahul a particular way every time, if we try to assess ये अच्छा हाँ ये जब धूप में जाता है ना तभी ही ऐसा करता है. If he plays in shade, he doesn't do what he's doing. That if we are able to go into that deeper, the problem is addressed and solved. Simple examples I'm giving, but it can be different for different scenarios. Communication with the families is another level of understanding. If it could be a normal child who doesn't have any special need, but the child, there are many children in your classroom also, they must be, जो पढ़ने में बहुत होशियार होते हैं, but otherwise also they are very naughty. होते हैं ना, it's a very deadly combination. They do their work also and then they will harass the entire classroom. Now that also calls for attention, isn't it? That also calls for attention. So try communicating with the families. In the parent teachers meeting, do not always talk about academics. Talk about child's behaviors. And when I'm talking about child's behaviors, is not talking about the negatives. Negative also can be presented in a sandwich approach wherein there is one negative blended with two positives, wherein the parent doesn't feel an attack. Oh my God, why have I come to this parent teacher meeting? And everything, if the teacher is telling me as a parent to do, then why is the school charging? है ना? So communication with the families is very important. Sandwich approach communication is also very important, specifically with the special need that you are dealing. And if you have a special need child, I would say if the meeting of the regular children is happening once a month, try having these parents on board twice a month. Because जितना आप उनसे मिलोगे, जितना आप share करोगे, we to have that kind of provision also wherein, because our children are very small, say for example, if a play school child has some problem, special need, then we provide that kind of provision also, that we regularly shoot videos of the child behaving in a certain way, so that the parent when goes for a therapy also can show those videos to the therapist that okay fine, this activity was done in the classroom and this particular child is doing this way. So it helps in the therapy that the child is doing. And ultimately, if the child is getting better every day, our work is done. Our inclusive classroom is bingo. So understand, communicate with families, respecting individual needs. These children in your classroom may have needs which are little different, which are little more. Sometimes it may so happen that other children go to the washroom on their own, but this child may want to go more than other children and may need more help. So here it's how you solve the problem. If Rahul needs to go to the washroom 4 times with help, and you have not registered that problem, and that is coming in between of your explanation, and you've not thought of that problem and you've not worked out of how this you are going to figure it out, you will end up in a mess. अरे यार ये राहुल को तो रोज 4 बार जाना होता है, मासी दीदी आओ इसको ले जाओ. Might as well, if you have a special child and you know this is a simple problem, he wants to go to the washroom 4 or 5 times, dedicate a proper person from the management's help, take management's help that I will need one extra person just every 15-20 minutes just to peep in the classroom. Take Rahul to the washroom and come back. Seamless. Okay? But if you've not addressed that problem, and Rahul, ma'am, Susu, ma'am, or he's already done in the classroom. Again, the Didi is coming, cleaning the classroom, and the whole class is getting disturbed. Might as well, if this problem is occurring again and again, find a solution. And management's help is required. But again, I will tell the teachers, when management comes into help, teacher demand a lot of things that can be easily managed from their end. So that fine line balance you will also have to take care of. Adapt activities that are diverse. There are a lot of activities available on the internet. Lot of activities which cater to diverse. So try and get them and involve even regular children in those activities. And you will feel that change happens both the ways. They are involving in the regular children and regular children are accepting them. Ultimately, the idea is that we want inclusion to take place wherein the children with special needs are welcomed and the normal children are accepting them. वही हमको चाहिए ना, that is what is inclusion. They are welcomed in our play, our space, and they the people here or the students here appreciate them and give them space and understand them. That is all inclusion is all about. So, giving those activities to children, involving them will definitely make or create an inclusive environment. When you have children, say, for example, if you're having children, say, with visual impairment or say balance problems in your classroom, design your classroom with the management's help accordingly. If you have a child who has motor problems, fine motor or gross motor or balance problems, design your classroom accordingly to meet the needs of that special child. वरना वो inclusion हो ही नहीं पाएगा. Some inclusions, some special needs are such that they are very easy to be taken care of. Some needs need infrastructural changes. So again, we go back to identify, address, and then come back to what is needed as a part of infrastructure. Because some children, they don't have their body control, they jump, they throw their body. So if you have that kind of a furniture in the classroom wherein the child throws his body while running, some children run so fast they throw their body like anything. It will not help. So be very mindful. Support diverse learners and communities. So here, when I'm talking about learners and communities, schools, teachers should also take initiatives wherein you involve trainings for communities like parents, their helpers, their caregivers, because this change has to be end to end. When we talk about WhatsApp end-to-end encryption, means if I am trying to do something, that has to be done same way at the home or by the caregiver or by the person who is attending that child in my absence. It's as simple as that. Engage families of special children in everything you do as a teacher, you do as a school. Because unless you do community building activities, if you don't foster communities with normal, inclusion can never take place. Inclusion can never take place. Up to end reporting of the child's behavior to the parents. Because a teacher now, this teacher who has a special child in the classroom has to become the friend of those parents. Because if you agree or disagree, you also are kind of a therapist, because whatever you are doing with the child is the therapy, is the therapy. So let's understand of supporting the diverse and engaging the communities with us. Next, innovate and adapt to meet diverse needs. Regular innovation and updation is required when we have an inclusive classroom. We as a teacher need to continuously upgrade ourselves, because there is every day there is something new that is coming in this section. The more we read, the more we educate ourselves, the more we will help, the more innovation we can bring in our classrooms. And these innovations will only help that Rahul to be one in that 18. Adapting to inclusion, collaborating for inclusion. Once we have accepted that, okay, fine, we are going to be an inclusive classroom, we have to innovate, we have to adapt to new things. And when that adaptation will come, there are a lot of changes which will happen externally and internally. There are a lot of changes that will happen internally, and those internal changes will reflect on the external changes. And collaboration, teamwork, family partnerships, community resources, community building events, community building uh, will help us go big time to make inclusive classrooms. As I mentioned, own your role in promoting inclusion. I haven't mentioned any point here because I want to leave this for you all to think that if you have a child and if you accept, for me here in my school, what I do is that I don't put any special child in any random class. I have identified some teachers. I have given them special trainings as well. And then I put that child, that Rahul, in that classroom. And before putting Rahul in that classroom, I talk to the teacher in detail that this is the responsibility that I'm giving you. Will you be able to take that responsibility? I give that teacher 24 hours time to think. Because unless that teacher is ready, the name in the register will not work. Your own role to understand, identify, address, accept, adapt, collaborate, everything for inclusion. You can never have an inclusive classroom. You yourself, if you are having a child who needs special attention in the classroom, physical, mental, emotional, whatever, if you are able to, as a teacher, dedicate 10 minutes daily to get yourself updated through reading, through any other resources, you are worth a teacher. And that child is worth being in your classroom. Otherwise, this O can be a zero as well. So this role is very important. N, and the last slide of today, navigate challenges with empathy and understanding. Put yourself in their shoes, and at times do such activities that children, those 18 children, put themselves in Rahul's shoes. For example, if you have a child who has listening disabilities, try doing those activities wherein these children don't use their ears, so that they understand what he feels. If you have a child with partial impairment, visual impairment, try those activities. If a child is there who has a behavioral problem, try those activities wherein these children put themselves in those shoes and try to understand this perspective and those feelings. And there will be challenges in this roadmap of making an inclusive classrooms, because you will have to identify triggers, you will have to develop strategies, you will have to seek support. three important things when you are understanding the challenges. Because कितना भी मैं हाँ बोलूं, okay, fine, I accept Rahul in my classroom. If I am not ready, not equipped, I will not be able, because there will be daily, there will be challenges. And those challenges may sometimes take a toll on me. So, identifying those triggers that may happen in the classrooms, developing those strategies, that how can those means I figure out those strategies that help. For example, as I mentioned about the toilet of Rahul, that every 15-20 minutes he has to go. That is a problem. For example, if this Rahul is not able to complete his assignment in time, so I have to figure out the challenges, figure out the strategies, how these challenges can be addressed. And these challenges can be one to one. How much ever I try to tell you, this cannot be a generic statement. So if you start understanding and you start immersing yourself into inclusion, automatically you will start finding ways to develop those strategies and seek support from your colleagues, from your management, from the parents, from everybody besides you. Because one child in your classroom is not your responsibility. Collaborate with families. Again, I said, because unless kitna bhi aap kar lo, families, if they are not on the same page, nothing is going to work. Nothing is going to work. So here, that's the last slide of my presentation. And I hope I've covered everything. Even though there are any doubts, and if the host agrees, we can unmute one or two teachers and take their doubts, and we can solve if there are any questions, any doubts. And here, I'm done with my PPT. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hi, it's Surabhi here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the beginning, you just mentioned about the special children, like, okay, and the ADHD thing, and you told that you will be further explaining that how like which kind of activities we can take for such kind of children, like. So this part did not cover, like, you explained each and every what we say term, like ADHD and ASD and all, but
Yeah. So
the
what I have done is,
activities.
yeah, so activities, actually what will happen, with every special need, there will be different activities. But throughout my sessions, a few glimpses I have given, because
Yeah.
if I talk about, say, ADHD, then in itself, it is a detailed topic, because what activities will go with ADHD will not go with ASD. So
Okay.
that is entirely a totally an in-depth 2 hour lecture that we can do. Okay, we are just focusing on ADHD children, that what kind of problems they are having. This was basically a generic presentation wherein I have tried to cover up the types of special needs for the teachers to understand, and possibly the issues that the teachers may have, and the motivation that the teacher can cultivate to bring inclusivity in their classrooms.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. And
Thank
just
you.
wanted to ask you, will we get the recording of this seminar live?
I think the host is the best person to answer. I can give
Yeah.
you the PPT, that's all right, that's in my hand, but the
Okay.
recording, I think the host can tell you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for the wonderful interactive session. Some
Thank
of
you.
the tips which you have included with our experience, we have already following, like a child who needs
Mhm.
certain things. and the child who's the leader. So
Hmm.
they are already helping. So in this
Okay.
role, what is happening is, like if the other child is not coloring, they give the color, they come and check
Hmm.
because they don't come, the ones who
Hmm.
require help. So every time the leader is only helping the other one, and the other one is not getting socialized, although the leader is social, not coloring since few months, and not opening up, not talking, answering even the 2 letter, 4 letter. And when it was already informed to the
Hmm.
parent during the parent teacher meeting, the answer of the parent is, yes, ma'am, he's doing the same at home. He's not eating, he's eating very little, just two morsels. Yeah, ma'am, he eats very little. So I felt that somewhere some action has to be taken. So how do we go about, like, the improvement of the child is the same as day one?
Yeah. So
So
here
yeah.
I think you've picked up the
Hmm.
right question. Why I'm
Thank you
telling
so much.
this is because most of the times what happens, with some children and some parent, we try in the school to team up to bring that change, but at home the parent is not taking enough efforts, and that can be seen. So
Correct,
here,
correct,
as you
exactly.
mentioned, that you've regularly called the parents, you've tried to give
Yes,
detailed, but many
yes,
a time, many parents don't take that extra effort. So here,
correct, ma'am.
the best answer, I think you will find this answer. I'm being very practical, but at times, what we can do is, हमने हमारा 1000% दे दिया, बट घर
Oh,
पे जो करना है वो तो आपको ही करना है.
wow.
If you are
Yes.
not doing enough, it is showing in the child,
Yeah. Yes.
right? So the
Mm-hmm.
best is, हमारी तरफ से जो हो सकता है वो हम करें. बाकी अभी
True.
वो नहीं कर रहे हैं, और वो जो नहीं कर रहे हैं उनका चेंज दिखता ही है, बिकॉज द पेरेंट्स हु
Mhm.
डेफिनेटली पुट इन एफर्ट्स, उनके बच्चों में चेंज हमको दिखता ही
Yes,
है.
evident. Correct, correct.
सो इफ
Mm.
दे आर नॉट पुटिंग एफर्ट्स, तो देन हम हमारी तरफ से पूरे
Okay.
पूरी कोशिश करते रहना, एंड वी कैन
All
जस्ट
right,
प्रे
ma'am.
टू गॉड द पेरेंट्स अंडरस्टैंड.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am.
थैंक यू. To all the teachers who've commented in the comment section box, thank you so much for the beautiful comments. I'm reading, I'm not naming the names, but I'm reading to all the beautiful comments that you've put in. Thank you so much. Can I request the host to come in?
Ma'am, this is technical host. I think so. Ms. Devika is not available. I think so. So you can
Okay.
leave the meeting, ma'am. We can. Nice session, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm reading the comments. So I'm just being for a minute here to just read the comments that everybody's writing. Thank you. I can see some thumbs ups also coming in. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Is it okay to implement buddy system? Yes, yes, it is very much okay to implement that buddy system, and it works wonders. No, Shipra, it won't make them more dependent, because when we are introducing that buddy system also, no, we have to be very observant that जितना नमक चाहिए उतना ही हमको डालना है. If at any point of time we feel that it is getting dependent, because even the child is understanding and then too he is needing support, we have to intervene in between and stop that. So help is like namak. Best example I can put is zarurat ke anusar. I hope, Shipra, your doubt is clear. You can just send a thumbs up. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.